It's a common misconception that drinking 8 glasses of water a day is enough for healthy hydration. But sweat consists of water and sodium, which means you need water plus electrolytes to stay properly hydrated. Thankfully, there are products like Element that have all your electrolyte needs covered. You can try Element Recharge Sample Pack by going to drinkelement.com/speak for only the cost of shipping.
And welcome to Speak for Yourself. Well-dressed edition. Marcel Swally right here. But hate to look to my side and look at this well-dressed gentleman, Emmanuel Otto.
So isn't every episode the well-dressed edition between me and you?
Between you and you. Life's a competition, you and yourself. You see, have you worn that before?
I wore it once.
When?
On the Ellen Show.
On the Ellen Show?
Yes, sir.
Oh, now you're wearing it here because our show's still on. All right, let's get it started with the NBA Finals. Well, yeah, Ellen, what happened? Chris Paul scored a game-high 32 points in Game 1 of the series, but things have changed since then. CP3's scoring has dipped to just over 16 points per game. I wrote that. During the Bucks' 3-game winning streak. After Saturday's loss, Devin Booker was asked an awkward question with Paul sitting next to him. Take a listen.
This is obviously a really tough loss. Devin, how frustrated are you for Chris right now?
Next question, please.
So, Acho, has Chris Paul been a disappointment in the finals?
So, Chris Paul has been a huge disappointment, man. I'm getting shades of LeBron first year in Miami finals vibes. Now, not that drastic.
Come on.
Not that drastic.
It's not even close.
But it is close because both very underwhelming. In the finals, you're supposed to be the best version of yourself. You're not supposed to be the same version of yourself, and you're definitely not supposed to be a worse version of yourself.
Really?
Big-time players, big-time plays, and big-time games. Every finals game is a big-time game. Thus, the big-time players need to be making big-time plays. And not only has Chris Paul not gotten better, many could argue he's gotten worse. So, we all want to see Chris Paul win. I know you and Chris Paul have some sort of friendship. We all want to see him win. 36 years of age, been in the league for 16 years, just played amongst 4 different franchises, 5 different cities. Like, we all want to see him get it. But I'm not going to turn a blind eye to the fact that Chris Paul ain't even trying to get it as much as we want to see him get it.
Talk to you.
Conference semifinals, conference finals, NBA finals. The last 3 series, Chris Paul has continued to wane in each and every one of those series. Conference semis, he averaged 25 and 10. Conference finals, he averaged 24 and 9. In the NBA finals, he's averaging 21 and 9 as we round up. As I look at it, Sel,
how you look?
Chris Paul, you're supposed to be the man, not a guy. You're supposed to be the guy. And yet, you just out here playing as if it's a regular season game, giving me regular season type of numbers.
You're cracking me up.
It's the biggest moment of your career. Sal can't want it more than you. I can't want it more than you. And statistically, I need to see more. So I am largely disappointed in what I've seen from CP3.
You are? Oh, my God. One, you missed a moment when I first started this off. You should have said, next question. I guarantee you, if Chris Paul wasn't sitting next to Devin Booker had some words to say. But you know, when your boy there, like, if they ask me something shady about you, I'm like, you see how Devin Booker looked at Chris like, next question. Damn it. We missed a moment there as well. I totally disagree with you, and it's not because of my likability and friendship with Chris Paul. I'm his friend. I don't know if he's my friend. One of those, like Chris called me, but I can't call you because I got his number. All right, but no, Chris, my dog. But I don't never, ever let a friendship get in the way of doing some objective analysis. And let's talk about Chris Paul. Let's start here because I don't want to talk about Chris Paul in totality. Let's just start with the Phoenix Suns because you brought up all the different teams he's obviously had a positive impact on, including my Clippers. CP3 is averaging more points per game in the postseason than he did in the regular season. Let's just start there, okay? So you're seeing a better version of CP3 in the postseason than the regular season. Let's talk about how he's shooting better from the three-point line in the postseason than he did in the regular season. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that his turnovers per game are fewer in the postseason than in the regular season. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how his minutes per game are up in the postseason versus the regular season at 36 years young. Let's talk about that. I'm just trying to give you some perspective because I know King of Omission over there with his full screens will make everybody's thinking, oh, Chris Paul tripping. Chris Paul CP 1.5. But let's talk about how he's had 3 30-point games this postseason and he only had 2 in 72 regular season games. Let's talk about that. But let's not just stay that wide, and let's not go career-wide. Let's go a little different. Finals versus the rest of the postseason. Since Acho wants to talk about, when you say big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games.
Talk about it.
Well, before the finals in the postseason and during the finals in the postseason, minutes per game, up in the finals. Points per game, up in the finals. Assists per game, up in the finals. Field goal percentage, up in the finals. 3-point percentage, up in the finals. But somebody in turquoise, I think that's turquoise, teal, I don't know, Jacksonville. Point being is trying to make me think and mislead our viewers that Chris Paul's not being CP3. Let me hear this CP 1.5 talk again.
My dog, I like how you went there because now we got to fight. I threw a quick jab, he bobbed it, he threw a left hook. Okay, now we boxing.
Let's go.
In sports, you're not competing against you. We started off the show, Marcellus Wiley said it's you versus you, Wacho, when it comes to these outfit competitions.
Winning, bro.
That's in outfits. But in sports, it's not task-oriented, people. Task-oriented is, hey, is Emmanuel Acho better than his former self? Sports are goal-oriented. And goal-oriented is, hey, is Emmanuel Acho better than Marcellus Wiley? Is Marcellus Wiley better than Emmanuel Acho? That's why we love track and field.
Yeah.
Because I can run a faster time today than I did yesterday compared to myself. But how did I rank amongst everybody else? That's all that matters.
Yeah.
So I love that you mentioned Chris Paul's minutes per game are up, his points per game are up, his assists per game are up. All of that is great. But when I look on the flip side, Giannis's points per game are up too.
Yeah.
Giannis's boards are up too.
Yeah.
And Giannis's points are up more than CP3's points are up. His boards are up more than CP3's assists might be up. Middleton's points are up more than CP3's points might be up. It's no longer Chris Paul, are you better than the Chris Paul you were in the regular season? It's now Chris Paul, are you better than how much better the Bucks are getting better? Because that's what it comes down to, Sal. I look at it like this.
Yeah, but
Michael Jordan is the greatest scorer of all time. He's not the greatest passer, not the greatest rebounder, he's the greatest scorer. And in 37 playoff series, Michael Jordan led all scorers in 36 of them. So what Michael Jordan does best, which is score, when it came time for him to do it best, he did it best.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Chris Paul, what are you the best at? You're 5th all-time in NBA history in steals. You're the point guard, they call you, which means you should lead in assists and you should be nowhere near the top in turnovers. What Michael Jordan did best was score, and when he needed to do it best, he did it best. Chris Paul, I need you to get these steals. But how come you only have 3 steals this series? Last game, 8 players had more steals than you, Chris Paul. 8 of them. Chris Paul, you're the point guard. You're not supposed to turn the ball over. How come you lead the series in turnovers? In game 4, you had just as many turnovers, 5, as the entire Milwaukee Bucks team had collectively, 5. So, Sel, it's not that Chris Paul might not be better than he was in the regular season. That's cool. But in sports, it's not about you versus you. Is Chris Paul gotten better than Chris Paul? More than Giannis has gotten better than Giannis. More than Middleton has gotten better than Middleton. More than Drew has gotten better than Drew. And I think the answers are abundantly clear that they're no.
No, they're not abundantly clear. Even though you're giving a great presentation right now, I think it's flawed, not because of you, because you're presenting exactly the evidence that's given. It's flawed because you're having a narrative conversation versus a numbers conversation. And in a narrative conversation, I understand the perception of Chris Paul, hey, this ain't what we expected. Think about why we are not seeing exactly what we expected. Because he hit the dance floor too damn hot. After you beat the Clippers single-handedly, it seemed like in Game 6, everyone was sitting there like, oh, well, Chris Paul, here we go. Then he starts off this series in Game 1 when he goes out there and has 32 points. That's the problem. That's not Chris Paul. Chris Paul is not the end of the Clipper series, and Chris Paul is not game 1 of this series. Chris Paul's an 18-9 guy, and that's how he became the point guard. He's giving you more now, and people are saying that's not enough because everyone's expectation and narrative is, if it were me, first time in the finals, you know what I would be doing? First of all, you sound like the homeboy said, man, if that dude would have walked up to me and bumped me, I would have. No, you wouldn't have. Because in the finals, you're playing the toughest opponent, at least from the Eastern Conference. And in that respect, the other team is getting paid too, Acho. Other team is putting up hella resistance. And Chris Paul is still competing at a higher level than his career averages. That's part one. So it's a narrative versus numbers conversation. So I get why you're on that side. Our reverence and respect for Chris Paul and the game that he has is making us exaggerate what we want to see and what we're actually seeing out of Chris Paul. Let me give you this stat. CP3 is the only Suns starter with a negative plus minus through game 5. Only one.
Okay.
Right.
That don't help you. Where you going?
I'm giving you why I know why you over there. Why, this wrong show. We ain't arguing. He has a negative plus minus, right? So everyone's looking at him like, well, there it is. Like you just jumped on. He's the one. He's the reason. But they don't understand you're still getting more out of Chris Paul than you do in normal situations. Juxtapose that negative plus minus with this. Chris Paul has the most wins he's ever had in the postseason.
Okay.
Chris Paul's numbers are up versus the regular season. His numbers are up in the finals versus the rest of the rounds in the postseason. And juxtapose it like this. He has the most assists per game that he's had in the postseason in 4 years. He has a 44% three-point percentage, the best since 2014. I'm saying Chris Paul versus Chris Paul is better. But y'all disappointed in what? A version of Chris Paul that you have never seen.
But the kicker is, all that stuff sounds good, but I don't care.
Why don't you care?
Why don't I care?
Oh, I'm going to interrupt you as soon as you say this.
LeBron James is not a...
Go ahead.
He's not a 35, 10, and 5 guy. He's not.
Oh, you're going to make my
point.
He's not. I knew you were going to go here.
He's a 27, 8, and 8 guy.
Okay.
He's not a 35, 10, and 5 guy.
Nope.
But in game 7s, LeBron is a 35, 10, and 5 guy.
Yeah.
So we don't usually see LeBron getting 35, 10, and 5. But when it matters most, LeBron gives us his best version of himself.
But that's not your fullest point.
No, it's not my fullest point.
I know you're going to go here.
2018 NBA Finals, Game 1, LeBron is severely outmatched against the Golden State Warriors. He's not a 51-point scorer. You know that, I know that, we all know that. He's not a 51-point scorer.
Yeah.
But in the biggest moment, Game 1, before he breaks his hand, LeBron gives you 51. So no, Chris Paul is not a 30-point scorer. He's not a 30 and 15 guy.
He's not a 20-point scorer.
He's not. Okay. But Giannis also is not a 32 and 13 guy.
Giannis
but
is
in
not
the finals, he's 32 and 13.
Giannis is not in this question. Has he been a disappointment? Chris Paul, track and field, you versus you. He's not been. However, perception is, we expect more. See,
I see what you're saying.
That's part one. And here's my part two. This is why I was going to interrupt you, but you made my point so well for me, I ain't even have to interrupt you. LeBron James in 2 different series I can remember of late that he led all statistical categories for both teams. And one of those finals, he won. And one of those finals, he lost.
Yes, sir.
Now, my point is, the one that he loses, all of a sudden you're going to say, we're disappointed in LeBron James because you told me it's about outcome. I can't. Since they're down in this series 3-2, all of a sudden you're disappointed in the same Chris Paul that if they were up 3-2 with the same numbers that are better than his normal numbers, how are you going to be disappointed in that?
I see what you're saying. I'm no longer upset at your take because now I understand your take.
Thank you.
I understand. I still don't agree with it, but at least I understand your take.
Let's go.
The reason I'm disappointed is because it's like this, Sel. What? Track and field. Y'all know we track and field. We track and field. Even if you run better in this race than you've ever run before in your life in track and field.
You PR and lose.
But here's what I look at.
You better stop.
If somebody runs a personal best in a race, did everybody run personal bests?
Oh, come on.
It's happening at the Olympic trials.
It's happening to your homegirl.
If everybody runs a personal best and you still lose, then I can't applaud your personal best because everybody did that. So now that's status quo. So Chris Paul, if you are outscoring what you typically do in the regular season, but so is Giannis, and so is Book, and so is Middleton, and so is Drew Holiday, and so is Jay Crowder, then I can no longer be impressed with you having a personal best because everybody has personal best. Now I need your best to outdo their best because it's not about Chris Paul ending the series and us saying, man, Chris Paul, he was better than his former version of himself. No, it's Chris Paul, he was better than the Bucks. It's not about Chris Paul being better than Chris Paul. I need Chris Paul to be better than the Bucks, or at minimum, I need Chris Paul to be his best version of himself. And this version isn't better than the conference semis version. And it's not better than the conference finals version. This ain't even the best version of Chris Paul we've seen in the series, Sal. If Chris Paul was giving us 26 and 10, 26 and 11, I would shut up. I would relent to the fact that this is the best version of Chris Paul we've seen in the playoffs. But Sal, this is Chris Paul's second best playoff series out of 4, and it is his worst playoff series in which he has been healthy. Because remember the Lakers series, he was not healthy. So with all that being said, congratulations, Chris Paul. You're better than you were in the regular season. So is everybody else.
Golly, I'm glad you don't have kids just yet with that mindset. You are an absolutist. And your absolutism is going to make you skip over steps of appreciation. When you have a kid and MJ, he comes home and he did his best and is actually certified he did his best by time, by certificate, by accolade. I don't give a damn what anybody else did. You are not a disappointment. Now, when me and my wife start talking to have a glass of wine, it's sorry, little boy got 9th place. I'm whooping. I'm not joking like that. Seriously, you got to build them up. What's the old saying? It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men.
Yes, sir.
You are looking at Chris Paul like he's broken just because you know the results. Now, in those other series, we know the results. They won. Chris Paul was horrible in the Lakers series. Let's just go there. And nobody wants to say nothing back. He was hurt in 2 series. He was hurt again against the Clippers as well. Corona. So the point is, when we know the outcome, we all of a sudden color in the lines differently. In this situation right now, the outcome looks like not good for you, Phoenix Suns and Chris Paul. So we're coloring the lines in differently. But I don't like that absolutism that you are trying to make me understand. Let's make it personal. Let's talk about how this personally, Chris Paul has been a better version of Chris Paul. Now, is there more necessary to get the task done? Yes. But are you disappointed in me? Because this is one thing I heard from coaches. I never played in a championship game at the pro level. And not even in college because we didn't have bowl systems. But in high school and everything else I did. Now, one thing coaches used to always say to us is like, I don't need you to be more than yourself. Because what got us here will get us there. So Chris Paul is playing within his own skin and actually a tick above that. And now you're sitting there saying, no, because what's happening in result is the fact that you are coming up short. Is he a disappointment to himself? No. Is the result a disappointment to the Phoenix Suns? Yes.
I don't need Chris Paul to be more than himself. No. I need him to be his best version of himself.
Okay.
What is his best version of himself?
Okay.
Closeout game against the Clippers.
Oh, yeah.
Best version of himself.
That ain't him.
Game 1 against the Bucks. Best version of himself. Closeout game against the Nuggets. I don't need him to be a different Chris Paul, but I would love to see a 30-point Chris Paul. It's the finals, big dog. It might be the only time you ever get here in life. In your 16-year career, only time you've ever been here. I don't need you to be 6'5", Chris Paul. I don't need you to be 220. I don't need you to all of a sudden be able to start windmill dunking. That's not what I need. But I would love to see the best version of your assists, the best version of your ball handling, the best version of your scoring, the best version of your decision-making, the best version of you. That's all we need, and we haven't gotten that.
Look, if someone is shooting a higher field goal percentage in the finals than they did before, a higher three-point percentage in the finals than they did before, and more points per game in the finals than they did before. Whew, I don't know what you're expecting, but them young achos, stay still. Don't come out yet. He ain't ready. Coming up, Aaron Rodgers' teammate thinks he'll be at training camp next week. We'll tell you if the Packers should have faith that will happen. But first, the Suns' backs are against the wall. We'll tell you how confident we are that they can force a Game 7. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Them young achos got to come over. Getting recommendations from your friends for that perfect diet might be a big waste of time. The real answer is already within you, your genes. What are the best foods based on your DNA? What foods have the nutrients that you need? How quickly do you metabolize caffeine and alcohol? Don't guess. Use the code Speak for Yourself for $20 off a Geno Palette DNA kit. Find out how to eat for your genes.
Devin Booker scored a game-high 40 points Saturday, and the Suns were up by 16 after the first quarter, but things took a turn. The Bucks led by 1 late in the game, but Booker was stripped by Drew Holiday, who found Giannis for the alley-oop dunk to seal the win. Phoenix is now down 3-2 with Game 6 tomorrow in Milwaukee. Got to bring in NBA analyst Slick Rick Bucher-Basell. How confident are you in the Suns forcing a Game 7?
Oh, I am trying to tell the truth here because I have a rooting interest to see this go 7. But how confident? not very confident because I didn't see Phoenix take care of business last game when they had the dominoes stacked in their favor. Now it's going to be a reach to get the next one to fall. The only confidence really comes from the fact that this year the Suns haven't lost 4 games in a row this entire season. Now, they have lost 3 straight, so we're at that place right now. But can they get back their form? Can they get back to their flow? Not certain, because when you go back to Milwaukee, it's going to be magical Milwaukee in terms of energy. Like Acho, you know how it goes. I love when I hear the Seahawks claim the term 12th man, and I guess in basketball you got to say the 6th man. And I've always struggled with like fan participation and energy and how it contributes to sport. But in this situation, I got to say, it's about to be epic out there in terms of Milwaukee finally getting their opportunity. Hasn't had it since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in those days. So I'm going to rank this right now. Let's talk about the form where they're going back to Milwaukee. I'm going to say you're number 3. Number 2, 12th man in Seattle. Number 1 is going to be Arrowhead Stadium, because that one still is the loudest stadium I've ever participated in. It's going to be a problem for you, Phoenix. You could have taken care of business last game. You gave away a game before that in Game 4. Now you're in this situation where now you have to fight the starting 5 plus whatever's coming out of the crowd in terms of energy and participation. I'm not that confident. Can't lie.
I co-sign everything you said. I'm not confident at all. The Bucks are going to close this out at home.
I'm not saying that.
Bucks are 9-1 at home in the playoffs. Devin Booker, you've given us 2 40-point games, and the Suns have nothing to show for those 40-point games. Now, I may have been confident if Chris Paul would have left his 30-point game in the chamber. Remember, I told y'all, Chris Paul's good for 1 30-point game a series in the playoffs. He did it in the Clippers game. They won. Clippers series. He did it in the Nuggets series, closeout. They won. He did it in this series. The problem was he did it Game 1. He shot his bullet too soon. He should have held on to that 30-point bullet. Obviously, figuratively speaking, it's not like he's calculating that in the moment. However, given that Chris Paul has already thrown his best punch, he's used his best shot, Devin Booker, I'm sure he can give you another 40-point game. But at what cost? Is it going to be at the cost of Ayton getting 20 and 10? Is it going to be at the cost of Chris Paul getting 20 plus? At what cost? The other thing is Jrue Holiday's best games might be ahead of him. Chris Middleton, his best games might be ahead of him. At this point, we know Giannis is good for 35 and 14 on any night. Roll out of bed, give you 30 and 10. So I don't see how the Suns can do it. Game 1, Game 2, the Suns were the better team, and Milwaukee was like, maybe we can do this. After Game 4, Milwaukee was like, okay, we're just as good as them. We can do this. But now that the Bucks are up 3-2, the Bucks are like, wait, we're better than them. We have done this. That mental shift is what's going to cause the Suns to get eliminated next game.
Why are you guys half-stepping? Say it with your chest. Isn't that what I always hear?
I know.
Say it with your chest. I have no confidence.
Fair.
None.
Fair.
Zero. Zilch. Squadoosh. You name it,
Squadoosh.
I don't have it. Because, number 1, the Suns have seen every possible challenge. The Bucks have seen every possible challenge that the Suns can give them. The Suns got up early on them, 16. Twice in the first quarter. They lost. Leading by 9 in the fourth quarter. They lost. They got 40-point games from Devin Booker. 2 of them. They lost. They shot 68% from 3, 55% overall, and lost. They held the Bucks to 40% shooting, 24% from 3, and lost. They reduced the offensive rebounding advantage down to 3, by far the best in the entire series, and lost. There is nothing that the Suns can do that is going to get the Bucks to flinch or to think for a second that they can't win Game 6. And so that, along with Marcellus's point that it's at home, where they've only lost one time the entire playoffs, I need someone to give me one reason to believe that the Suns have half a chance, any chance, not even half a chance, a 1% chance of winning Game 6. I just don't see it at this point.
Ooh, see now You want to take me into me being the analyst up here. The first one was just me talking as the human being. That's why I didn't say
That's where I'm taking you into the deep water, Marcellus.
You are. I got to get my hair wet. Okay, here's the problem, though. When you take me to the deep waters, I could go deeper with this analysis, and then all of a sudden, I'm going to give you some cause for pause. Let's just use a few of these statistical nuggets to talk into my point. Why you always got to respect your opponent. You can never say 0%, Slick Rick. You're better than that. Let's talk about growing confidence.
I can.
Well,
they can't.
They can't. Good point. Good point. Let's do our show. Let's do it. I'll give you that. Suns made 13 threes in Game 5. Just made 16 threes in the 2 games prior to that. So that shows improvement, but that's not my stronger point. Let's talk about how the Suns lost their first game this postseason when they shot 50% or better from 3. Okay. So you start to see the growing confidence in how the numbers are being a little skewed, not the law of averages. Now let's get to some stronger points. The Suns closed out all of their previous opponents in the playoffs where? On the road. Interesting. So they can show up on the road when you talk about them playing on the road. Second best road record in the postseason. Okay. Best road defense, the best road defense of all playoff teams. And let's talk about how the opponent's field goal percentage and three-point percentage is second best. We're starting to grow in some confidence. That 0% has to be affected right now. But let's just give you a contrast. Milwaukee and their numbers at home, not so good. Best home record, that's great, but just 8th in points per game at home. You're going against the best defense, and now your points per game. We got something here. And the Bucks, one of 3 teams who shot under 30% from the three-point line this postseason at home. I give you all those nuggets to tell you it's not a 0% chance. We're just waning in confidence right now because, as Acho loves to say, the Suns been playing with their food. Y'all gave away a game that you were supposed to win, Chris Paul and the turnovers late. And then you go home, you shoot a percentage that you have never lost in the postseason shooting, and you lose that game. They don't have momentum, but they still have a fighting chance in this series.
It's not a good one, no sell. And for me, I just look at this sliver. The Bucks can win a multitude of ways. If Drew Holiday gives you 20 or more points, they're 7-1.
Yeah.
Chris Middleton shoots 42%, they're 13-1. If Holiday plays well, or Middleton plays well, or Giannis goes crazy, they're good. On the flip side, Devin Booker can give you 40+, and you 0-2. So the Suns, if your best does his best, y'all still don't win. The Bucks, your second best or your third best, can do their best or they're just good. And y'all are good. So when I look at it, the Bucks just have more ways to win than the Suns have ways to win, and the Bucks are going to be at home doing it.
Well said, Acho. Here's the other part. And Marcellus, I'll flip it around.
Yeah.
I'll take the Phoenix end of things.
Okay.
When they won the 2 games in this series, how did they win those 2 games? By being incredibly dominant in free throw shooting, having a huge free throw disparity. Is that going to happen on the road? That never happens on the road. Is that going to happen again? Has it happened since Game 1? Hasn't happened since Game 1. And then Game 2. Mikal Bridges scores 27 points. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton combined score 28. Is that going to happen again? Am I going to see Mikal Bridges basically even up on Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton? There's just a couple of things, extraordinary things that had to happen in this series for Phoenix to have 2 wins to this point. And Milwaukee, as it's gone along, has figured things out. One of those Game 1 wins, P.J. Tucker was guarding Chris Paul, and he went off. Chris Paul has not been the same player since Drew Holiday has been on him. Giannis Antetokounmpo playing far more minutes at 5 against DeAndre Ayton. A matchup advantage, Bucks. So as I go down the line, the Bucks have just figured out, we knew we were the better team. We just didn't know how we were the better team. And with each successive game, they figured it out. And yeah, Phoenix had a chance. I'm not going to say they gave away Game 4. They had a chance to steal Game 4, and they failed in doing so. And as we've talked about in previous series, the Clippers being one, when you give that game away, chances are you're not getting it back, especially if you're going up against a team that matchup by matchup is simply better.
Man, but let's just say it like this. Let's frame this perfectly. What if Phoenix extends this series all the way to 7? You imagine the momentum going back to Phoenix, and that's what I'm hanging my hopes on. It's not a 0% chance as you gave me that absolute. I respect in terms of momentum, they have 0. But in terms of a chance, in terms of my confidence, it's not at 0. Shout out to the DOC. High energy, flowing with the wisdom. That's what's going to happen. They have to face that high energy in Milwaukee. But the wisdom of Chris Paul and others can surpass that. And if they do, woo! You got to add a 1 and a 0 before that other 0 because that's where the momentum's going to switch going back to Phoenix. Coming up, Giannis capped off, bust cap. Game 5 with a huge alley-oop dunk. Shout out to Drew Holiday. I see you, Campbell Hall. We'll tell you which player's legacy has grown the most in the finals. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. High energy flow. Most anticipated reunion of the summer is here. Oh, yeah. As John Cena returns home to SmackDown. Summer of Cena on Friday night SmackDown, 8 Eastern, only on Fox. I see you, Cena. Get that money. Stars have had their moments to shine in the finals. CP3 had a game-high 32 points to start off the series. Giannis had a huge block shot in Game 4, is averaging just over 32 points in the finals. Devin Booker is Booker in the house. Got stripped in the closing seconds Saturday, but he still has scored at least 40 points in back-to-back games. So Slick Rick is back with Acho, whose legacy has grown most in the finals. Oh, let's go. Let's go.
This was easy, y'all. Giannis Ugo Adetokounmpo. His legacy, y'all, what y'all don't understand is this. It may sound asinine, it may sound ludicrous, whatever the case may be, but let's please remember, if Giannis wins this title and thus wins a finals MVP, by the age of 26, he is in the conversation and maybe above the conversation with the likes of the greatest of all time, LeBron James and Michael Jordan. I am not talking about talent. I am talking about achievements. I am trusting that y'all have the mental bandwidth to be able to separate the two. By talent, LeBron James. By talent, Michael Jordan. We get all that at 26. But by achievement, Giannis would have just as many MVPs as LeBron and 1 more than Jordan. Giannis would have a few less all-star games. Really, it's just a couple less than LeBron and 1 less than Jordan. But by championships, he would have more. And by finals MVPs, assuming he wins, he would have more. Giannis's legacy would be just as great as the greatest by the age of 26. Here's how I look at it. I'm going to simplify it, and I'm going to be done with my first lap. Giannis came into the league like Jordan and like LeBron came into the league. And talent-wise, LeBron was handed a $10 bill, Jordan was handed an $8 bill, and Giannis was handed a $4 bill. But by the age of 26, Giannis would have more money than all of them.
Whoa.
I'm not talking talent, but I'm talking achievements and accomplishments. Giannis is checking every single box when it comes to legacy. 2 back-to-back MVPs, plus an NBA championship, assuming he can close out and seal this deal. Giannis's legacy, we won't even be able to fathom it, because to fathom it would to be crazy.
Strong.
Acho, I loved your analogy, but I'd make it more extreme. I think that Giannis came into the league with about 50 cents compared to those other 2 guys. The length and the growth that he's had to have from the time that he came in, coming from a different culture, not growing up in this country, the whole NBA mindset, not being a star, not recognized as a star coming in, where the other 2, without question, we're expected to be that. And I wanted to make this conversation, this subject, interesting. And so I really wanted to go off the board, because Drew Holiday has done amazing things for his legacy in the way that he's played. And Chris Paul, in simply getting to the finals, has changed his legacy. We'll discuss that more later. But it is Giannis. It is Giannis. It is Giannis. There is no... This is a 2-time MVP who was never in the conversation for best player in the league. And yet now that conversation has begun. And if he wins finals MVP and the Bucks win the title, then I would fully expect that that's the view of Giannis Antetokounmpo going into next season. And I would not, Acho, I would not slight him on the talent front. He's doing some very unique things. He's answering some questions on the talent front that I had. Number 1, can he shoot the mid-range, and will he make the mid-range? In these playoffs, 1/3 of his shots are coming from between 3 and 16 feet. And he is making darn near 50% of them. That is a huge change from the perception of what Giannis was, which is I'm going to put my head down, I'm going to drive left, I'm going to spin back right, and if nobody strips me, I'm going to finish at the basket. Defensively, he was looked at as obviously a great player. Assist as a playmaker. You could confuse the floor. You could make things difficult for him. He's averaging 3.5 assists to every turnover, again, in these playoffs. That is an extraordinary number, exactly in this series on the biggest stage. That's the gold standard for point guards is 3 assists to every turnover. So he's not just doing it in a variety of ways. He's doing it in a talent way that has him in a conversation that he's never been in before. And I can't necessarily say that about any other player in this series. The view of them has changed that dramatically.
Man, y'all making me think of Kanye right now. If y'all told me I'm never wrong, yeah, y'all right. Remember Kanye said that? That's so deep. All right, next level. It is not Giannis. Y'all catch that later. Kanye ahead of us, y'all. It is Devin Booker. Let me start off with something you can digest. Always judge a man by the distance he's traveled. Judge a man by the distance he's traveled. Let's talk about these distances, shall we? Let's talk about the leap of greatness, shall we? When we're talking about Giannis, we're talking about a former Defensive Player of the Year and 2-time MVP versus Devin Booker, who is just a 2-time All-Star because of injury. Oh, let's talk about who Devin Booker is now versus who Devin Booker was coming into these finals. I remind you guys that Devin Booker has the most points scored in a player's first playoffs in NBA history. I remind you that he came into these finals averaging 27 points per game, and we were doing this already. Now he's averaging 30 points per game. And he's going to find himself in a conversation where if they come up short, damn, if Devin Booker had some help. Y'all know how that's going to make him look. It's going to inflate him in perception. Damn, Chris Paul, they're going to shoot at you in that respect. Now let's talk about your points, and let me give you some counterpoints. Acho, I need to see your face right here, because you told me that LeBron came in the league with $10, right? Mm-hmm. And then we saw an $8 bill and a $4 bill.
Yeah, $4 bills.
That Nigerian money there. What the hell is this? Naira? I ain't never seen an $8 bill and a $4 bill, man. Okay, I don't know what actually that is. Where was Jamaica? Where was Jamaica?
Come on.
You can tell me
Jamaica,
been to either place. But the point is, come on, man. You're making up the nominations to try to get value for these guys. But with Devin Booker, who didn't even start in college. You want to talk how much money you get when you don't even start in college? You're the 6th man, and they got to go to Kentucky practices just to see you to draft you. Hello. And then he comes into these finals. You got him ranked against right now in conversation. This is making my point. Devin Booker's in a conversation with a 2-time MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. That means that if Devin Booker's anywhere in that stratosphere, you gotta give him the nod. Why I take points away from Giannis as well? He's not in the conversation of best player playing in basketball currently, because that's still going to be Kevin Durant once we reset this next year. Don't forget, Giannis had a full squad going against KD Dolo, and KD still was the better player in that series. So he still hasn't elevated himself in a different conversation. It's Devin Booker, y'all.
Why you always
Devin
lying? Hey, say I had to bring that back, because you're out here telling these hot lies. Let's be reminded that by Tuesday at roughly 10 p.m. Pacific time, Giannis could have one less finals than KD, one less finals MVP than KD, but another regular season MVP over KD. So let's not act as though Giannis at the age of 26 is not already on the heels of who is maybe the greatest player or the most talented player in the NBA right now. I say Giannis's legacy has been built by this moment more than anybody else, because he came to the league as a 15th overall pick. Remember, y'all, Giannis only started 20 games his rookie year. 20. He didn't come in the league as a number 1 overall pick like LeBron James. Didn't come in the league as a number 3 overall pick like Michael Jordan. Giannis came in the league having sold CDs in Greece, just trying to make it. Dude was the second.
Speak it, Acho. Speak it.
He was the second lowest rated player on 2K for my gamers watching the show. If y'all didn't think he was sorry in real life, they thought he was sorry on the game.
Yeah.
And now he's transcended into a 2-time back-to-back NBA MVP, and just slick when we started to sleep on Giannis and say, you know what, his game is limited. Now he's averaging 32, 13 in the NBA Finals. Here's the only problem with Book. Book's legacy would have grown and could still grow if they win the chip. But still, if they don't win the chip, all Book has to show for it is a couple empty calories, a couple meaningless 40-point games. Yeah, maybe one day we'll talk about Devin Booker is the only scorer to score 40 points in 3 games in a row and lose the series. But what's that really mean? Meanwhile, we'll be talking about Giannis as winning his first NBA MVP at the age of 26, NBA Finals MVP at the age of 26. Giannis's legacy has been built, and it's going to continue to be built based off these performances.
Marcellus, I got to hand it to you. You made a strong case. I didn't think there was anybody. I didn't even think there was a conversation about this, to be honest. I was wondering why this was a top. Who in their right mind would go with anybody other than Giannis Antetokounmpo? But Marcellus Wiley, presumably in his right mind, went with Devin Booker. And that's why I love doing the show with you. You made a decent case, but here's the distinction. Number one, Devin Booker being a great scorer doesn't really change my view of him. I always knew he was a great scorer.
True.
Holiday lit him up in the last game, and Booker was actually playing probably the best defense we've seen him play. As a playmaker, with Chris Paul struggling, they looked to Devin Booker to be the playmaker, to get DeAndre Ayton going, to get everybody else involved. And we saw once again why the Suns never even made the playoffs when Devin Booker had to be both scorer and playmaker. So, yeah, he's done a lot of things statistically that are firsts, and this experience is no doubt going to be tremendous for him. But for me with Giannis, there were 2 questions that I had about him, and the reason why prior to this year, I had never put him at the top of my MVP ballot. And this year I did, because I had 2 questions that needed to be answered. Could he impose his will on his team? And could he impose his will on the opponent? Now, we saw game 2, as they were losing game 2, he imposed his will on that team in that huddle. They haven't lost since we saw that Giannis Antetokounmpo breakout. And if you look at what he has done to the Suns overall, we've played 5 games. He has been outstanding in all 5. He has been the riddle that the Suns have not been able to figure out for all 5 games on the biggest stage. You cannot say that about Devin Booker. You cannot say that about Chris Middleton. You can't say it about Chris Paul or Drew Holiday. There's one guy who has stood at center stage and made it his in these NBA Finals, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I dare to say to you, going into these playoffs, going into the season, no one ever imagined that at this point we would be seeing this.
Interesting. Great points once again. Let me just hit you with a little bit of this gumbo right here. A few ingredients I got cooking up over here. The gap between number 1 and number 2 on Giannis's team, the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis, Chris Middleton, and the gap between number 1 and number 2 on the other team, Phoenix Suns. Which gap is wider between Booker and Chris Paul? Yeah, so it looks like Devin Booker's carrying a little more water in this series than Giannis is. 2, let's just talk about Finals MVP. It's a shared experience, even though Giannis should win it. He's the favorite. But Chris Middleton has a little bit of argument. Certainly a couple games ago we were talking about Chris Middleton. And then even Drew Holiday, that's what I call him, Drew Down, has been in the conversation of some pretty epic moments. But I know it's Giannis's trophy to share. No, to have. Okay, I respect that. Now let me get my boy Acho on the screen as well, because Acho is trying to tell me, oh, well, he's going to have a Finals MVP. Oh, and he has more regular season MVPs than KD. So that means best player on the planet. I ask you this, Acho. Steve Nash has more regular season MVPs than Kevin Durant. Was there ever a conversation of who was better on the planet? I know Steve Nash didn't have the finals success, but please don't start going regular season MVPs as the trump card in these conversations. Don't forget Devin Booker, 13th pick overall as a backup, and 15th pick overall is Giannis. Kind of the same dude. But Giannis with those 2 MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, how is he going to travel a greater distance than Devin Booker, who just got 2 injured All-Star appearances? My last point is this. The mask is off, but the nose is still broke. Devin Booker's sitting out there with a broken nose. And look,
That's not a good point.
It is a great point.
Giannis has a hyperextended knee.
Look,
He's just tougher.
I've had both. I had 2 broken noses and I had 1 hyperextended knee. I don't wish either one on anybody. But that is a part of this conversation as well in terms of what he's responding to. Let me give you a story real quick. Y'all want 30 seconds? Okay. All right. So I had
he
a
didn't
great
answer the
girlfriend
question,
who moved
did he?
away. Her name is Davita Adams. And she was moving to Santa Barbara. You know, from the hood. I thought that was like out the country, but it was just like a 2-hour drive. Anyway, so I'm at school and I threw a basketball full court, hit this dude in the head. He was my homeboy, Brian Bimbo. Wow, wow. He come jogging after me like, what's up? Full of fire. Meanwhile, I'm a national record holder in track, so I run around the campus for like 10, 20 minutes. Finally, I just turned around, dap him up like, my bad, big dog. I'm sorry, jogging him out. Wow, broke my nose, big dog. Worst part about it, Davita Adams was there. She had to go and tissue me out. So I'm just telling you, not just physically, but emotionally, it's worse to have a broken nose. Brian, if I see you in these streets, it's on, boy. Nah, I love Brian. Coming up, is there pressure on Bill Belichick? I had to tell that story. Bill Belichick to make the playoffs this season. We'll answer that next on Speak for Yourself. And now, he is still
That was
saying...
an awesome story. It had nothing to do with Devin Booker.
Nothing. Oh, the Patriots missed the playoffs for the first time since 2008 last season. Yahoo wrote Tom Brady winning it all in Tampa may have prompted the Patriots offseason spending spree with a record of nearly $160 million in guaranteed money. Their new edge rusher, Matthew Judon, said of Bill Belichick, quote, with him leading a group of hungry, willing men, it's nothing but up from last year. That's right. So, Acho, is there pressure on Bill Belichick to make the playoffs this season?
Absolutely, Sal. I know you talk to me a lot about equity. Equity in football. Equity, it has to mean something.
It's right here on this third line, right here.
First line, equity.
Yes.
But in football, equity just doesn't mean much. How do I know? I know from personal experience, but I was never that great, so I know from other people's experience. Doug Peterson brings the Eagles their first Super Bowl. Owner of the Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie, writes the foreword to Doug Peterson's book, How an Underdog Becomes a Champion. 2 years later, Doug Peterson is fired. Carson Wentz has an MVP caliber season, leads the Eagles to the playoffs. Carson Wentz from then gets hurt, and Nick Foles leads the Eagles to the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz, within 2 years, out of there. Jared Goff leads the Rams to their first Super Bowl in the last 20 years or so, in his 4th season in the NFL. Really, it was his 3rd season that they went to the Super Bowl. 2 years later, Jared Goff, thanks for playing, big dog, but you gotta go.
Holla.
Equity is cool and all, and it sounds good on the note section of a Monday show. Speak for yourself. But the fact of the matter is, it's not a what have you done for me league. It is a what have you done for me lately league. And the operative word in the NFL there is lately. Bill Belichick's the greatest coach of all time. We know he's the greatest coach of all time, but is he the greatest coach in 2021? He wasn't the greatest coach in 2020. So it doesn't matter necessarily how great you are all time. How great are you right here, right now? I'll personalize it, then I'll pass the baton. Just thought of this now, not even in the notes. Mac Brown, one of the greatest college football coaches ever. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame, currently coaching at North Carolina. He recruited me to Texas. We were at Texas. 10 consecutive 10-win seasons.
10 consecutive
10 straight Mac had.
Get
10
some,
straight.
man.
Texas goes 9-4. One game away from winning the Big 12, and Mac Brown gets fired. Equity is nice and all, and it's real good on a Hallmark card. But equity means nothing in the game of football.
Strong. You a little emotional. Mac Brown came in your living room, went in there and talked to you. You go, oh, man, you go to Texas. Respect to you, brother. Okay. There's this much pressure on Bill Belichick. Actually, I wanted to go absolute like you do and say no, but I was like, I'm not going to be hot take. There's this much pressure, and it's self-induced pressure because they went on a spending spree. That's the only reason why there's some pressure on this team, because in perception, most people think if you spend that much money, which they did, they spent $288.5 million this offseason. Both totals led the NFL. Okay. So now people say you got to get what you pay for, right? If you go on a shopping spree, you say, Sale, I'm about to hit Rodeo, all these streets. I'm like, all right, holler when you're done because I ain't going shopping. And then you come back, and I was like, what you get? And you look a mess? I'm like, dog, what you spend your money on? You look a mess. So they can't look a mess, even though there are some parts of this team that still have question marks. Do they have the best quarterback room in their division? Maybe the worst quarterback room in their division. You got a rookie and you got a struggling Cam Newton of last year, according to Acho. So now let's talk about our favorite word, equity. I'm going to give you another word that maybe gives a better understanding of this moment. Entitlement or equal. Let's use them all. Equity, entitlement, equal. E. Let's go there, Acho, because you want to say that there's no equity in the NFL. Yes, there is. You're looking at a guy who benefited from equity. 0 sacks my first year, had equity. Why? I was a second-round choice. 3.5 sacks my second year. Oh, well, he's going to get there. And he's improving. 5 sacks my third year. Oh, he's really improving. 10.5 my fourth year. Damn it, that equity paid off. We stuck with him. If I was high-priced from hello, 0, 3, get out of here. 5, he got to go, even though he's improving. Now, let's talk about me coming down the hill. 13, equity, we already paid him, and he's good. 6, equity. Now entitlement. And then the last one, 3, still there. With 3 sacks, how? Equity, brother, it exists in NFL. So on my first lap, I'm going to talk about the equity as I did. My second lap, going to get a little more into the entitlement and, more importantly, equal, or there is no equal. Got to bring in Fox NFL analyst Bucky Brooks. So, Bucky, is there pressure on Bill Belichick to make the playoffs this season?
Absolutely, there's pressure. Pressure comes when you've set high standards. They set high standards in New England. They win Super Bowls like no one has ever done it before them. When I think about Bill Belichick, who may go down, who should go down as arguably the best coach in NFL history, he absolutely has pressure on him. When you are a guy who's had the level of success that they've had, when you don't go to the playoffs, people begin to look around, particularly when Tom Brady leaves and he goes to Tampa and win a Super Bowl. Now there's a little more of a question. Is it Tom Brady or is it Bill Belichick? Can he win without Tom Brady? Are we really sure that Tom Brady wasn't the magic elixir that allowed them to have this kind of success? So, yeah, the pressure is building on Bill Belichick to show and prove to the football world that he is what we think he is, and that is the greatest coach in NFL history.
Bucky, you brought up a point that I hadn't dove into yet, but we should go there.
Let's go.
Even if it's not pressure from the likes of Marcellus Wiley or from the likes of Robert Kraft, it'll be pressure from himself, and that may be enough. Bill Belichick is pushing 70 years old, about to be 70, 71, something along those lines. He's used to winning at a high clip. When he no longer wins, he's going to start looking at himself like, why am I still doing this, and do I still got the juice? So Phil Jackson got to be the greatest basketball coach of the recent era. He wins 6 with the Bulls, then year off, shortened year. Then he goes and wins 3 with the Lakers. Then he backdoors and wins another 2 with the Lakers. But then 1 year goes in and they get swept in the first round by the Dallas Mavericks in 2011. And Phil Jackson, who has just as much equity, probably internally along with some external factors, is like, you know what? Maybe I'm done here, because what am I still doing this for? Bill Belichick is the greatest football coach of all time. We don't even have to argue like some might try to debate Phil Jackson. But even Bill Belichick, the great Bill Belichick, if he doesn't make the playoffs again, after winning 6 or so, however many Super Bowls, he might even look in the mirror and say, you know what? These seasons are long. These off seasons are longer. What am I still doing this for? Bill Belichick has put pressure upon himself, even if we don't put it on him.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of pressure on him. I think Bill Belichick certainly understands that everyone is looking at him with that raised eyebrow. Hey, we thought it was you, but maybe it is Tom. I sat here on this show and talked about Tom Brady being done. He's a has-been. He's washed up. He goes to Tampa Bay with the same cast of characters that Jameis Winston had. He leads them to the promised land. So now my eyes go back to Bill Belichick, and I'm wondering, hey, the evil empire that ran off the 6 Super Bowls, I thought that maybe Tom Brady was the system quarterback, but maybe the system is Tom Brady. So Bill Belichick still has to prove to the outside world, hey, the system is really the reason behind our success, not just the fact that maybe I had the greatest quarterback of all time playing for 20 years, and maybe that's why we won so many Super Bowls.
Man, y'all better stop. Bill Belichick has not missed the playoffs in back-to-back years since 1993. Well, y'all, Acho, how old were you then? Exactly. Only once in the previous 10 years has the team that led the league in total free agency spending made the playoffs in the following season. I'm about to run this down to y'all. There's two things why there's that much pressure. And I'm going to go with the one that is giving them pressure. It's the spending. If he didn't have the headlines this offseason of the spending, Bill Belichick be like, man, y'all better count my rings and shut up. But he can't because he went out there and hit Rodeo with Acho. Now everybody like, you can't come out the house looking a mess if you spent that much damn money. So let's talk about this and give me a little time, producers, on this one. Let's recap free agency spending and how it materializes. Top 3 teams in total spending last year missed the playoffs in 2020. Let's go to number 1 in total spending, missed the playoffs in 2019. Number 1 in total spending, missed the playoffs in 2018. 2 of the top 3 missed the playoffs in 2017. Number 1 missed it in 2016. Top 5, all 5 of them missed it in 2015. I told you I needed time. Number 1 in total spending missed it in 2014. Number 1 missed it in 2013. Number 1 missed it in 2012. And top 5 missed it in 2011. You can't buy your way into the playoffs, homeboy. But Bill Belichick gave himself that headline, that narrative. That's the only amount of pressure. Bob Kraft ain't getting rid of Bill Belichick because Bob Kraft is as faithful as a man who knows his options. And what are his options?
Bob Kraft faithful?
Well, you man, don't do that. Okay.
You're faithful as a man.
Well, he's single right now, kind of. Let me go. Let's talk this. You are as faithful as your options. Boy, I love me some Acho. And you look at this. Okay, Acho, tell me how faithful you're going to be to Bill Belichick when you realize there is not another coach in the NFL that has 2 rings. Not another coach. So Bill Belichick's sitting up there with 6 of them bad boys. And then you say, okay, let me go get the second best coach. Who is it? Bruce Arians. Well, he just got his 1 just now. No, go get Pete Carroll. Oh, he just got 1. No, go get John Gruden. No, he just got 1. No, go get John Harper. No, he just got 1. Go get Mike McCarthy. No, he got 1. Let's go get Sean Payton. No, he got 1. Let's go get Andy Reid. No, he got 1. Let's go get Mike Tomlin. No, he got 1. These dudes, you can make a sorry statement. It's a weak statement, but you can say they lucked up and got 1. You can add that entire list up, and it still doesn't add up to Bill Belichick damn near. Man, Bob Kraft sitting there like, what y'all talking about in pressure? It could go 10 more years, and this dude doesn't win another ring. He won 6 in like 3 days. So there is no competition, as Rakim once said. So that's why the Patriots will be faithful to Bill Belichick. Coming up, Chris Paul and the Suns are in a must-win mode. We'll tell you if CP3's legacy has taken a hit in the finals. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Nobody got time. Nobody.
Chris Paul was in the driver's seat for his first NBA title after the first 2 games. But since then, the Bucks have won 3 in a row, and Paul's Suns are a game away from elimination. CP3 has had a problem with turnovers with 18 in the finals, which leads all players. Slick Rick Bucher is back with us. But Sel,
yes,
is Chris Paul's legacy taking a hit in the finals?
It shouldn't. I think it has, but it shouldn't. But look, in today's society, with social media driving the minds of so many people, people are more into something quick and fast and microwave mentality than diving deeper into the numbers. So I think it has taken a hit, unfortunately. Even though Chris Paul is putting up better numbers than he did in the regular season. Certainly more points per game, certainly better from the 3-point line, more minutes played. But people are not going to look at that. And fewer turnovers per game in the postseason than the regular season. But the people are not going to look at that. They're going to look at just these finals and the hiccups they've seen from Chris Paul. And then they're going to contrast that versus what they saw in game 1 and the closeout game against my Clippers. I remind you people, that was not Chris Paul as a normal Chris Paul version. That was more than Chris Paul. So you guys got to do the proper calculation and understand who Chris Paul really is. Now let's talk about him in the finals versus him before the finals. More minutes played, more points per game, same assists, barely, a little uptick, but let's just say the same. Field goal percentage better, 3-point percentage better. And y'all gonna say his legacy takes a hit? What did y'all think Chris Paul was? Was he the Laker version in the first round? Because that wasn't too much. I understand he was injured. Then you talk about the Denver series. Was it that? That was a little more than Chris Paul. Was it the Clippers series? A little up, a little down. But he closed out the right way. I don't think that his legacy should take a hit. But I know who I'm dealing with. I know the crowd that I'm talking to. So you guys are going to be lazy and say it should take a hit, even though it shouldn't.
Viewers, I hope you caught how Marcellus Wiley tried to preemptively attack our narrative, saying you guys are going to be lazy. So now when we say the truth, you all perceive that we are lazy. Viewers, don't let his Columbia education get to you.
Oh, look at that. 8 Mile.
Chris Paul's legacy has taken a hit. It's taken a huge hit. Marcellus, you can't have it both ways, big dog.
Okay.
If Chris Paul is a top 5 point guard of all time or a top 6 point guard of all time, whatever you want to call it, then I expect that kind of performance in his one and only NBA Finals appearance thus far. You cannot have it both ways. Don't tell me that Chris Paul is only a 20-9 guy, but then come the NBA Finals, when we expect him to do more, I don't know, give us 30-12. Give us 28-12. Give us something greater. Then all of a sudden, I mean, Chris Paul is just a human. I mean, what did y'all expect? I mean, Chris Paul was, this is who Chris Paul is. No, if you're the greatest, I want to see your greatest in the greatest moments. That's what I want. Giannis has given us his best in the biggest moments. Giannis hasn't had back-to-back 40-point games. He reserved that for the NBA Finals. And it's not even that he reserved it. He went and found it. So he went and found the best version of himself. Devin Booker, back-to-back 40-point games. He didn't reserve it. He went and found the best version of himself. Jrue Holiday just played the best game of his career. He didn't reserve it. He just went and found the best version of himself. Chris Paul, in this moment, I'm not asking you to give us something that doesn't exist. I'm just asking you to go find the best version of yourself. And because he has not done that, his legacy has taken a hit. Because legacies are meant to grow in the NBA Finals, like Giannis's has grown, like Jrue Holiday's has grown, like Chris Middleton's has grown, like Booker's has grown. But Chris Paul's legacy, at a minimum, it stayed the same. And if his legacy has stayed the same while everyone else's has grown, then in perspective of everyone else, his legacy has taken a hit.
Oh, God.
So what's worse, being lazy or intentionally misspeaking? Which one of those is worse?
Oh, I have to interrupt
because Acho, you misspoke right from the beginning.
We can't hear you.
You started with that. If I'm a top 5, top 6 point guard all time, don't start there. Don't start with a premise that we already discussed and dismissed and you yourself agreed with. So don't start with false suppositions.
You gone.
Because the reality is, all of this has to do with
when
framing.
you try to come at me and you ain't got nothing to say. You ain't got nothing to say. Get out of here. Look at that. Acho. Come on. Let's talk about this legacy right now. Because you, like others, fell into the trap. I know we haven't hung out just yet, but I can tell what kind of friends you are when we hang out. Hey, Sale. First of all, stop elbowing me, dog. Hey, Sale, you see that? You see that? Because you knew the L.A. Hey, guess who that is? Hey, guess who that is? Acho. Yeah, that's the homie from 3rd grade. Yeah, he just blew up, and you just now meeting him in the first time. You thought Chris Paul was the dude that finished off the Clippers series. That ain't who Chris Paul is. You love the law of averages, but now you don't want to respect what average looks like in this respect. My brothers, we used to go to the club all the time. I used to be super single. Like, boy, I earned my nickname, that dude. Let's talk about that. Now, we used to always say, because I used to fall in love every other night. Like, every other night. Oh, my God, I'm the one elbowing. Hey, dog. And then we used to always say 2 things. Holla on Wednesday. You know what holla on Wednesday means? Check your emotions on Wednesday, and let's make sure they look like who they look like the night you met them on Wednesday. So what your Wednesday look like? That's what we want to know. The average, not when you all dressed up, me to the nines, got on my full Gucci suit, my masterpiece on, 19 chains. I don't want that. I want your Wednesday when you're just chilling. I got to go to the store and get some grapes. Simple things in life. You want to measure the man on something extreme. Clippers closeout game. Game 1 in this finals. Let's talk about judging a man against himself. Judge a man by the distance traveled. His minutes are up, and he's old as hell. His points per game are up, but you don't want to give it any credit. His assists per game are up, but you don't want to get any credit. His field goal percentage is better, but you don't want to get any credit. And his three-point percentage is better than it's been his entire postseason. Finals versus postseason. Chris Paul right now is actually a better version. His Wednesday checks out. It's time to go on a second date. But you want to sit there and take a shot just because Giannis is doing a little bit better in terms of result than Chris Paul.
I'm taking a shot because I've seen too many worse. 15 turnovers over 3 games. You and I want to go stat for stat. We can do that, but I'd rather not. I've seen too many worse, Sal. He hasn't had 15 turnovers over 3 games in the playoffs since 2012.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
And we're not even talking about a regular playoff game. We're talking about the NBA Finals. If you do everything you can for this moment, I need to see your best in this moment, and I need your best to be greater than everybody else's, particularly if you're a greater player. If Chris Paul was Jay Crowder, hey, no blood, no foul, big dog. Like, I only have so many expectations for you. If Chris Paul was Campaign, Bridges, but the only person in this series that is currently in the conversation for top 5 all time at their position. There's only one person. Giannis isn't in that conversation. Book isn't in that conversation. Chris Paul is the only person in the conversation for top 5 all time at his position.
Yeah.
Then I need to see his best, and I need his best to be better than everybody's best, including Books, including Giannis, including Middleton, and for dang sure including Drew Holiday. I'll give it to you like this.
You better give it.
Let me talk to you like our brother Colin Cowherd would. Chris Paul's best game of this series was his 32-9 game 1. I think we can agree upon that. That's Chris Paul's best game of the series. That would be the 8th best game of this series. Giannis's 2 40-point games are better. Giannis's 26 and 14-point game with the pivotal block at the end of the game was better. Devin Booker's 2 40-point games are better. Drew Holiday's 27 and 13-point game this past game, we know that's better.
2 of them I want to take off.
Okay, and Middleton's 40-point game is better. That makes 7, giving Chris Paul 8. At a minimum, even if you were to remove 2 games that I just said, and I won't argue about which, that still makes Chris Paul having the 6th best game of this series. It's just not enough, Sal. Now when it comes to huge legacy, like your performance, Chris Paul, your best performance was the 6th best performance in an NBA Finals? I need more. I need more from your guy. I need more.
I'm going to give you more, too, but I'm also going to get some more from Slick Rick. We had some technical issues before, but he's made amends with his Wi-Fi, so now he's back. So let's hear it, Slick. Continue with what we didn't hear.
I'm thinking that Acho pulled the plug because his premise is what is flawed, starting out with Chris Paul being a top 5 point guard. We already established that in a previous show that that's not accurate. Marcellus, I am with you. There is no hit on Chris Paul's legacy when it comes to these finals because it was already established. This is what he's done. He took a Suns team that had not made the playoffs in 10 years, and he took them all the way to the finals. If not for that transcendent game against the Clippers in Game 6, the Phoenix Suns are not ultimately in the finals. No one expected Chris Paul to win the title this year. Yes, the Suns were favored, but it was as much because they thought that DeAndre Ayton had the matchup advantage against Brook Lopez and Devin Booker was better than Chris Middleton, more so than Chris Paul was going to be this all-time point guard who was going to carry them to a championship. Now, after Game 1, there may have been a few people that were thinking along those lines. But if we kind of step back and we had this conversation about his legacy and what simply getting to the finals meant for Chris Paul, it changed his legacy right there. So this idea that not winning it is somehow going to hurt him can only be based on what the expectations were after Game 1, not what the expectations were going into the series. You know what he's done? You know what's taken a hit? The effectiveness of 36-year-olds in the playoffs. LeBron, Chris Paul, Andre Iguodala. And by the way, John Stockton, when he couldn't get past Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, he was 36 years old. It's the age that is having a bigger factor and is taking the bigger hit than Chris Paul's legacy.
Thank you for just agreeing with logic. Man, I'm loving you, Acho, but that emotional argument and talking about, hey, dog, did you see Chris Paul against the Clippers the last game? 41-8. Whoa, and he backed that up with a game one against the Suns, 32-9. Oh, he the finest thing. Wait a minute. Let's see him on Wednesday. Because on Wednesdays, Chris Paul.
So he's not that good.
No, he is that good. He's a top 5 point guard all time. But guess what that is? An 18-9 guy. And you don't want to respect who he is. And in this series, he's more than that. He's more than who he's been his entire career, and you still don't respect it. He's had 3 30-point postseason games when he only had 2 in the entire regular season in 72 games. Acho, I don't know who you thought Chris Paul was, but he ain't that. But he's still top 5 all time. I'm going to give you these numbers. He has the most wins in a single postseason in his career. That takes a hit of your legacy? I thought that would help enhance it. He shot the best from the three-point line since 2014. He won 36 in 2014. So if you just add it up in totality, I think this is really just a perspective argument. I think it's just about a relative experience argument. He's amazing. He's top 5, borderline, wherever you want to go. He's an 18-9 guy, and that's how he traveled to get to that place. Now, we can go 2 different places. We can stay with the logical argument of like, wow, he's actually performed better in these finals. Give him his dap. Or you can say, no, he hasn't because the team is down.
You're letting him off the hook.
I'm looking at him.
You're letting him off the hook.
Let me hear.
You're letting him off the hook. And I can't let him off the hook. Because either you are great or you are not. Okay. Either you are one of the greatest or you are not. I'm not going to give you praise here, but then omit you from blame there. The reason that these Suns are down 3-2, because they're only down by 1 game, one could very well argue is because of Chris Paul. One could very well argue is because of Chris Paul's 10-point game. One could very well argue is because of the game in which Chris Paul had just as many turnovers as the entire Bucks team. So if you're saying that I'm using a narrative cell, which I'm not mad at you for saying, because you're probably right. If the Suns were up, I don't know if we'd be doing this.
Yeah, we color it different.
We're coloring it different.
Yeah,
but why are the Suns down? We could very simply we could very simply go to the fact that, man, it is on you, Chris Paul. You're the reason the Suns are not winning in the series. The reason the Suns lost that game is because of Chris Paul. Now, I get it. There are 10 players on the court. There are coaches. There are guys on the bench. There are fans in the stands. Maybe it's the fans' fault. Maybe it's the guy that was counting money. Maybe if you remove him counting money, they would have won. But the fact of the matter is, the greatest players get the praise and the greatest players get the blame. Chris Paul is a large part of the reason the Suns are not winning this series. So yes, the fact that they're losing this series is damaging to his legacy as well. I'm just saying, Sel, I can't let him off the hook.
Wow.
You don't let us let anybody off the hook on this show. Yeah. I don't know how you're going to let me let him off the hook.
Because you're more nuanced to that. You know damn well the greatest players don't always get the praise and the blame at the same time. I don't know who's greater, you or I, Acho, but you get all the praise and I get all the blame. So look, it ain't working the way that you try to predict and try to state it like that. Coming up, the Packers training camp. That's right, Healy, I do get all the blame. Packers training camp starts next week. But we'll tell you if they should have faith. Aaron Rodgers will be in the building. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Yeah, where your blame at, Acho? Let's head to Green Bay. Packers training camp starts next week, and the elephant in the room is if Aaron Rodgers will show up. Their CEO, Mark Murphy, recently said there's nothing new to update. But Rodgers' teammate, Mercedes Lewis, my dog Mercedes, what up? Long Beach, was asked if he thinks his quarterback is coming back, and he said, quote, I think so. I hope so. Oh, way to be definitive. Say it with the chest, Mercedes. So, Acho, should the Packers have faith in Aaron Rodgers reporting to the training camp?
Not at all. And for me, let's have a real conversation. We don't even need notes. We don't need all this stuff. If you're Aaron Rodgers, why would you report to training camp? That's what it comes down to, right? People report to training camp for a few reasons. You've done it several times. I've done it several times. Yeah. Number one, you want to win a championship. Like you're working towards something with that team. But Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to be in Green Bay. So there goes reason number one. Or for others, reason number one, you don't want to get fined. I know a lot of players who don't need to be at training camp, but they don't want to get fined. Aaron Rodgers would get fined $50,000 a day for missing training camp. Aaron Rodgers has made $240 million in his NFL career. Aaron Rodgers would have to miss 4,800 days of training camp for that $50,000 to catch up to that.
Bill Parcells training camp, that's long.
Exactly. It's not going to happen.
It's not happening.
I hate answering a question with the question, should Packers have faith Aaron Rodgers will report to training camp? But my question is, why should Aaron Rodgers report to training camp? Aaron Rodgers has no motivation. And because Aaron Rodgers has no motivation, Packers fans should have no faith. Aaron Rodgers has no need to be there, no motivation to be there, and doesn't desire to be there. So why should he be there? He won't be there.
Whoa.
Packers fans, no faith.
The key word here is faith. So I say yes, because you got to have belief in what's not seen. And right now it doesn't look like, and I don't think we've seen Aaron Rodgers there. So we got to have faith. Belief in the unforeseen. Belief in something that we don't know if it's going to happen or not. So, yeah, you should. And I'm going to tell you why. Because there's a trust system that occurs on the daily in every interaction you have, and you don't even give it proper respect and credit. One of them I always take notice of is if you ever drive down a major street and you're on the left side in the left turning lane, and the other people are coming flying on the other side, and they're right there. We trust in each other a whole lot. I don't know you, you don't know me. I'm going where you just left and vice versa. But boy, it's some trust because these side mirrors are close and we are hitting these numbers. That's the same thing going here with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not in line because he doesn't want to buy in. He doesn't want to buy into what this culture has turned into before his very eyes. But he's going to come to a realization that he contributes to this same culture that he doesn't want to buy into now. So all of a sudden, he's going to have to respect and acknowledge that I'm trusting not only where I am, but where they're going. And maybe that's a different direction. But we don't have to always collide. When I'm riding down La Cienega, I don't run into that person. I don't even know that person. Whoever upstairs you don't like, because he won't say his name, but whoever it is, and we kind of know who it is, but I ain't going to say it if he won't say it. You ain't got to know him like that. You don't have to like him like that. You know how many people, they give it to you like this. You said no notes. I don't know why you said that either, because I got a gang of notes and you must don't have any. No notes. Okay, here's the thing. Give you a team picture. I'm going to do this to you one time. 2014 Eagles or something like that. Team picture. I guarantee you, you won't know 60% of the names on there. 40% of them dudes, you'll be like, number 52, number 97. Oh, that's the homie. I remember he used to. You won't even know him. It's okay in terms of Aaron Rodgers being on his team to still find his social space, still find somewhere where he's comfortable, but still fall in line. So, yes, have faith, because I think he's going to report.
So, I mean, it sounds good, and I understand your concept of your argument, right? You want to have faith, believe in something that's not seen. I get all that.
Come on.
But Aaron Rodgers ain't going to be there. He's just not.
The entire training camp? Maybe not day one.
I don't think he'll be there the entire training camp, because Aaron Rodgers can't look like a punk either. And I know sometimes it's dumb. It's dumb. Don't want to look like a punk, da-da-da-da-da.
Oh.
You hold out this whole offseason. You spend time in Hawaii. You spend time on a golf course. The only real national interview intentionally that you do is Kenny Mayne's last show over at the other network. You're quiet. You hold out all offseason just to do what? Just to show up to camp day 1, day 2, day 3.
You didn't get what you wanted.
But what was the point? Aaron Rodgers is at least going to hold out longer into camp to make a point. If you did all that and you show up day 1, now I'm looking at you. Even you, Sal, are looking at Aaron Rodgers stupid. You might be like, well, you didn't get what you want, so I'm glad you showed up. But you're still going to be like, hey, bruh, that was dumb. You doing all that just to show up day 1, day 2? It's stupid. Aaron Rodgers ain't that dumb.
His intention wasn't to do all that and not get what he wanted. His intention was to get what he wanted. He didn't. You come to a new realization because there's new information. With that new information, I hear this a lot from this society and this generation right now. I'm just saying it to be heard. I'm just saying it to bring attention. I'm just saying it to voice my opinion. I always say have a destination if you're going to be disruptive. He was disruptive. He had a destination. He's come to realize he's not going to get there the way he wants to. It's okay. I think I learned this best in a marriage, not relationships, not all my engagements, my marriage. That dog, you're going to have to realize you lost that one. And the worst part is not the loss. It's how do I get back on the field to go and play again so I can get the next victory or potentially the next loss. And that is the pride in the way. That's the ego sitting there saying, man, they didn't even listen to me. They may be listening to you, but they need you in closer distance and proximity to fully respect your argument.
I think the other problem, though, because I think a lot of what you said is right, but you said he didn't get what he wanted. I think the reason Rodgers won't report is because the Packers didn't give him what he wanted, because Aaron Rodgers doesn't know what he wants, because he hasn't verbalized it. Like, that's the real that we ain't talked about all offseason long is Packers can't give him what he wants because he don't know what he wants because he ain't said what he wants. He said it's not about money. He said, there's just some cultural issues in the organization, but he didn't name a guy. He didn't say who he wants gone. He didn't say where he wants to go. He didn't even say he wants to be gone. He just said it's not about money. I can't give you something if you don't tell me what you want. That's why I don't like playing with kids right now. One guy ain't got none and it ain't mine. But I don't like playing with kids because when something goes wrong, they just cry. I can't interpret what you want if you're just crying. I don't have that parental superpower. They cry, I take them, I hand them to their parents and let the superpower parent translate. But Aaron Rodgers, all he's doing, and I love Aaron Rodgers, but in theory, he's as a child whining. I need you to verbalize what you want so the Packers can make a decision if they can give it to you or not. If they can't, part ways. If they can, everybody come together. But at this point, Sal, because he is sitting here whining figuratively as a child, ain't no way he gonna be at camp because he don't know what he wants, thus they don't know what they want.
I ain't got nothing else to say, but damn. Either show up to training camp, Aaron Rodgers, or come to my crib. I got those parental superpowers. I know why you're whining. Coming up, Giannis missed a lot of free throws Saturday. I mean, a whole lot of. And Chris Paul called him out on it. We'll tell you if that was a mistake as Acho dropped the mic over here or the bottle. I don't know what it was. That's next. Oh, speak for yourself. Damn, Aaron.
Giannis scored 32 points in Saturday's win, but he also missed 7 free throws. 5 of those misses were down the stretch. And after the game, Chris Paul called out his miss in the closing seconds. Y'all take a listen.
Everybody's out there anticipating the miss. You know, hell, even he is. You know what I mean? So, you know, we got to keep trying to box out. And then if his length, you know, he tipped the ball up in the air, ain't too much you can do.
So, Sal, is Chris Paul making a mistake criticizing Giannis' free throws?
No, he's not making a mistake. Let me talk 2 layers on this because I don't think it's going to work against Giannis, but it shouldn't work on anybody. One, can people stop acting like what I say about you is going to make you do something good or bad? It's only on you, bro. If right now I'll tell you, say, Marcellus, you're going to get up and trip and fall. If I trip and fall, it ain't because you said it. It's because I wasn't paying attention and I just tripped and fell. I hate when people do that. Because we got to care how it lands. We got to care about everyone's feelings. What happened to the good old days when we were just competitors and I didn't give a damn about you until the game was over? You know that? And we used to have a gladiator sport, no matter what the sport, contact or not, physical or not. Y'all Aaron Andrews and I'm Richard Sherman. I say it the way I want to say it, unfiltered, and it just comes out that way. That's the sports I like. That's the attitude I like. Now we in this place where, well, everybody on the court is giggling when Giannis has to go to the free throw line. Include Nacho. You're giggling right now. Look at everybody giggling, right? But then we got to sit there when they ask us why you giggling. Oh, well, you know, sportsmanship. Giannis can make. Man, he can't shoot free throws. It's just that simple. So that's layer 1. I just want to go back to the glory days, the old school days, when we could just call it like we see it and nobody else tripped on it.
That's fair. I'll be Aaron Andrews. She knows I'm the real EA, though. Now, with that being said,
What?
It's dumb by Chris Paul. So dumb.
What, he
It's
gonna
so
make
dumb.
him now?
No, it's not even that. It's
What?
just, why would you give the Bucks any more motivation? Why would you give Giannis any more motivation? Like, Chris Paul, you just sitting there after taking an L at your home court. The first deciding game, like you said, a series doesn't start until somebody steals one at somebody else's court. So you just let the series start. And you want to make a quip, crack a joke? Like, if you see the footage, Booker wasn't laughing. Booker wasn't ha-ha and kikiing. Chris Paul makes his little joke and, like, chuckles. Then Booker's like, bruh, now's not the time. Then Booker's really thinking in his head, like, if you wouldn't have fouled him, it would have been a 3-point game with 13 seconds left. Y'all look at it. Chris Paul makes his little chuckle, and Booker's just like, this mother sucker Chris Paul really finna cost me an NBA final. Like, so it's dumb because Chris Paul don't dare go out like Pat Beverly.
Oh.
Don't dare go out like Pat Bev. It's all fun until the rabbit got the gun.
Oh,
Don't
man.
dare go out like Pat. Because remember, Pat Bev everything was good for him too.
Yeah.
Everything was good. Then all of a sudden, Chris Paul started making some pivotal buckets, series ends, and all of a sudden Pat Bev is pushing and shoving in the back. Chris Paul, now you all of a sudden verbally pushing and shoving when Giannis can't see you or do nothing about it. It's all fun until the rabbit got the gun.
Man, here we go. Okay. One, you got a fear-based mentality. I always tell you that, but here you go again. Don't go out like Pat Beverly. What if I do go out like Pat Beverly? I went out the way I wanted to go out. Why I can't go out with jokes and being cocky and arrogant? I hate when people are like, you got to have this false humility because if you don't, then you know what? You're going to look bad one day. And ain't nothing looking worse than losing, so I don't give a damn how I look in losing. You started off saying, man, don't give them no more ammo, no more inspiration and motivation. Are they going 100% yes or no already? Yeah. So if I give you more motivation, where's it going to go? You're already going 100%? Oh, the proverbial, the figurative, 110%. Man, shut up. That's why I used to just talk trash against anybody I wanted to, because I was like, it ain't connected to how they going to play. Well, I'm going to come kill you. No, unethically, illegally, yes. You're going to hit me after the whistle. You're going to lay on me longer. But you know game one, play one in the football game. Lincoln Kennedy there. Man, you suck. Wah. Me, next time I see him, Lincoln Kennedy there, I don't say anything. He's still going to hit me as hard as he can.
But here's the disconnect.
What's the difference?
Athletes aren't actually going 100% all the time.
Who ain't?
Especially not in this series. Do we have the clip of the last play where Chris Paul fouled? Because I've watched that tape at least, I would say, 35, 40 times. Crowder ain't going 100% on that play. Crowder don't sprint back. Bridges goes 100%.
I'm not talking about physical effort. I'm talking about emotional content. This is an emotional conversation.
But emotional content leads to physical effort.
No, it doesn't. No one can go 100% for 3 hours. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you ain't going to hit me as hard as you can. Or I'm going to say it right. You can't hit me any harder than you already can hit me. So it doesn't matter what I say.
But if you're not hitting me your hardest,
why
you
aren't
can hit me
because you're tired?
No, just because you're not always locked in, Sel.
Oh.
I don't think in this, and we know Chris Paul ain't been locked in this whole series. Otherwise, he's just been sorry, and we know he's not sorry.
Chris Paul played better in the finals than he has the rest of the postseason.
6 turnovers, 4 turnovers, 5 turnovers. So we know he ain't been locked in this whole time. All I'm saying is Chris Paul can be giving Giannis unnecessary motivation to make them go even harder than they have been going.
Okay, I'm going to say why it doesn't work. I like your take, too, as well. I ain't going to lie. I'm a cocky little dude. So I got caught up sometimes. All right, this is what Giannis said, quote, and I love this. I figured out a mindset to have that when you focus on the past, that's your ego. When I focus on the future, it's my pride. And I kind of try to focus in on the moment. In the present, that's humility. It ain't going to work on him. He's still going to shoot 60%. He's still going to be sorry from the line. Chris, giggle all you want. It ain't going to matter because it ain't going to affect him. Coming up, 49ers-Rams rivalry just got some bulletin board material, some new one, too. We'll tell you if we're convinced Matthew Stafford can elevate the Rams. That's next on Speak for Yourself. I like that topic, though. You don't think it's connected? The 49ers and Rams already have a rivalry, but things just got kicked up a notch. L.A. added Matthew Stafford, but that does not impress Niners safety Jimmy Ward. Who said, quote, he's the same quarterback who was on Detroit, and they still didn't go to the playoffs. And they had Megatron. Yeah. So, Otto, are you convinced Matthew Stafford elevates the Rams? Ooh, shots.
Yeah, man, he will. Same player that was in Detroit, yes, but not the same cast of characters that was there, too. You take an actor and put him with a different role, all of a sudden they might win an Oscar. So don't just look at the the actor. Make sure you look at the talent around him. Matthew Stafford's passed for 5,000 yards in a season. One of only 8 quarterbacks in NFL history to do so. We can't sleep on Matthew Stafford's individual talent. Where Matthew Stafford falls short is either in his leadership ability, but ask anybody that's ever played with him, they love him as a leader. But collectively as an organization, he's just always fallen short. If the Rams' missing piece is what they believe to be the quarterback position, and we know that Matthew Stafford, based off talent alone, is an upgrade over Jared Goff. I can't talk about intangibles. I've never been in either locker room. But based off talent alone, I can definitely talk about Matthew Stafford is an upgrade over Jared Goff. Then I have to believe that he will elevate the Rams. The question is, elevate the Rams over what?
Oh.
Because they went to a Super Bowl.
Already.
So to elevate the Rams from going to a Super Bowl in 2018, just 3 years ago, is to win the Super Bowl. He can elevate them over winning one playoff game. He can elevate them over a first-round loss, a wild card loss, or a divisional win. But can he elevate them to Super Bowl championship or ships? I can't answer that. But I definitely know he can elevate them into and through the playoffs.
Yeah, this one, can he elevate them? Because there's just so little room for improvement if you're really basing it on the standard of we appeared in the Super Bowl. All you can do is win it. I still say yes because him as a performer is a greater performer than Jared Goff. Like, he's just better than Jared Goff. I remember my boy Dennis Northcutt. Shout out to Dino. He played for the Detroit Lions, and I remember him. I love the first phone call when someone went to the Patriots, Fred Taylor and the other boys that I had. Dino went to Detroit. I was like, so what's up with Stafford? He's like, damn. He said, dude, cannon. He said, ringing by your ears all the time. Then you couple that players are saying he's special. Cal Shanahan and Sean McVay went on a podcast recently and gave him a love fest I haven't heard in a minute in terms of, I wanted him, jockeying for that opportunity just to get him. So Jimmy Ward, the only thing he can really shoot back at is what you said, Acho. Well, Stafford's one of 8 quarterbacks to throw for 5,000 yards. Guess what Jimmy just said? So was Jameis Winston. That ain't all that you need to be solidified and certified. But in this situation, they just got better at the quarterback position. No way around it. Coming up, Team USA. USA. Take that, Acho. Take that. Has had a number of obstacles before they head to the Olympics. We'll tell you if we're confident they'll take the gold or lose to Nigeria again, Acho? That's next. Don't speak for yourself. Get right.
Team USA beat Spain Sunday in their final exhibition game before the Olympics, but they're still dealing with a lot of obstacles. There have already been roster changes. Now reports say Zach LaVine was placed under health and safety protocols and will not travel with the team to Tokyo, bringing the roster to only 8 players. So, Sel, you still confident Team USA takes the gold?
Yep, because I am an American. Anyone who says anything else within our borders is blasphemous. And I'm looking at your face right now, Acho. Till we still got Kevin Durant. Anybody else gonna have somebody as great as him? Nope. Damian Lillard's still out in the building. Jason Tatum's still there. And I got other names here, but we're the better team. It's okay to be cocky and American. Doesn't make you a cocky American.
See, Sel, I'm not gonna let you do this because you're the type that tries to create a narrative that to root for another team is now un-American. You trying to make me Colin Kaepernick on Speak for Yourself. I'm not gonna let you do that, big dog.
So who are you rooting for?
I'm not answering the question because I don't trust our viewers yet.
Okay. You better root for Nigeria somehow, some way. I'm 61%. Go Nigeria. Silver, that's it for us.
Headline is next.